My guest today is one of the founding members of Judas Priest, the legendary KK Downing. I caught up with KK to talk about his new project with Ripper Owens, KK's Priest. We talked at length about their new album Sermons of the Sinner that comes out on August 20th, the new single and video Hellfire Thunderbolt, the metal scene of today, and all things Judas Priest. Listening to the new album, I've been listening to a couple of tracks. Absolutely amazing. I love it. It gave me the chills to listen to it.
Oh, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, because there's so much going around on social media and stuff like that, right? And then sometimes you think that the edge has gone away from the music, right? You think that it's all softened down, it's all turned down. But my God, I heard this and I was just blown away.
Thank you very much.
Was this prompted by the pandemic, or has this been in the works for a while?
No, I think in 2019, Vic, I did a couple of shows late in the year. I don't know why. I was very reluctant to do them, really, but people were just asking me to guest, like Ross the Boss asked me to guest, and also Dave Allison, he was coming to England, said, can you play a couple of songs? And one thing led to another, really. So, and then a month later in December, Christmas, I thought, well, if I can write an album, we could put a band together, and that's pretty much what happened. So in a short space of time, I had all the songs, and then I asked the guys if they'd be interested, to push forward with an album, and that's what we did. So all happened very, very quickly, really. That was before COVID. But COVID did have a drastic effect, because I sat down writing it at Christmas, and I was hoping to deliver the record by April, which was insane, but I was on course to do that. But of course, COVID got in the way, because what happened was, in the same year, we wanted to go and do some shows, because we did have some shows booked.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The other thing, KK, that I find quite astonishing after I've heard whatever you put out, is that it took you this long to put this out. I was, I know the other guys, especially when you were in Judas Priest, everybody else had solo projects and stuff like that. But when you have all this creative energy within you, when you have these ideas, and when you have this sound and the songs, I found it quite amazing that you didn't put it out for so many years.
Yeah, well, like I say, when I was in Judas Priest, I was totally loyal, and I didn't want to play with anyone else. I didn't have any desire to, to do that. I just was my main focus. Obviously, I was there at the very beginning in the 60s, and so it was always my passion, and everything was just Judas Priest, so I was very loyal in that respect. And I was pretty tolerant, really, with Rob and Glenn, because Glenn did a couple of solo albums with other artists. But, I was thinking that if I can create good material, then it should go to Judas Priest.
Fair enough, yeah.
So, and that was always my philosophy, really, Vic. If the material was a bit substandard, why would you do it?
Why would you put it out?
And if it's good, why not put it to the main act, which is Judas Priest?
Makes sense, yeah. Yeah. But coming back to this album, what was the blueprint, or what was the concept behind the album? Was it, in a sense, were you writing for yourself? Were you writing for the fans? What was behind it?
I think I just sat down and did what I always do, really, as a writer. But I was pleasantly surprised that I could do everything anyway. I didn't need Rob to do the lyrics or the melody lines. I didn't need another guitar player to work with. I was just quite happy to do the whole thing, and it wasn't difficult to do. In fact, it was really, really easy. And in fact, I've got material, stockpiled now. I've been working, actually, it was like February, early March, I think, when I started to put stuff down for another record. And I haven't been able to get back to it yet, but it is lying there, and I'm ready to pounce on it and put it together.
Amazing.
So yeah.
So what is your process when you write, KK? Is it do the riffs come first? Do the words come first? What is the process?
Um, a combination of really,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a stockpile of, I think most musicians you've got a stockpile of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It can be good, bad, or ugly, but sometimes you revisit stuff and it sounds better than it did last time you hear it, and some stuff sounds worse. Um, so it's just a combination of, I can one day I can just pull up some ideas, or just I can just pick up the guitar and put something new down,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But um, it's just basically like probably you go to the fridge one day to make something to eat, and you just pull that out because everything needs using,
Yeah.
everything needs using, and you
Yeah.
put together. Sometimes it comes out fantastic, other times it comes out not very good. Um, so it's just like that. Here's an idea, you know. I like to think I like to think of a good, strong delivery for a message for the song.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
works. That works really, really good. You know, um, and then a lot of it depends as well what mood you're in.
Yeah.
You can be
Yeah.
writing kind of stuff that's a bit kind of melancholy, or a bit demure, and another time you feel high energy.
Yeah.
So there's no set rules. There's
True.
no set
True.
rules. The main thing is to just have plenty of ideas.
Yeah. So does the album encompass all that? It's not that all the songs are of a certain
Yeah.
vein, right? So I'm
So
guessing.
now, sometimes, for example, if you have a good, strong delivery, a good idea, like songs like Sermons of the Sinner, and then you have a storyline, because I do like to have a storyline.
Yeah.
Every song, like if somebody asks me, here's a song, can you explain what it's about?
Mm-hmm.
Then yes, I will explain what it's about, you know, and so that is really good. I like to be able to do that, and that
Mm-hmm.
helps me to put put the song together
Yeah.
and complete the journey of the song, and then all the musical parts. Like on this album, there's some quite intricate musical soloing parts. That is just because once you've got the intro, the verse, the sub chorus if there is one, and the
Mm-hmm.
chorus, you know, then you've got the backbone and mainstay of the song. The rest is just the fun part, doing all the
Yeah.
instrumentation.
Yeah. Yeah. What was Tim's contribution to writing? Did Tim contribute to writing parts of the
Well,
album?
yeah. So the guys were over there. I was kind of on my own. Because obviously Tim was over there in the States,
Mm-hmm.
and he was busy doing shows and stuff that it got booked in. So I just wanted to get on with it. But Tim flew over, and obviously he had some great amendments and embellishments,
Yeah.
for the song, so we were able to. But it was a good indication of what we can do with the next record when we can collaborate and get together. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be very exciting to put, new stuff together.
Yeah. But how much of this album was also you wanting to recreate yourself as an artist? Is that is that possible to do?
I think what I wanted to do, because I needed to do, was put an album together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just sat down and would go about it. If I'd have been asked to do an album for Judas Priest or this band, I just work, in the same way that I always work. I can't really change it, because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a style. I definitely have a style of writing, that's for sure. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, it can be
Yeah,
everything from very meaningful stuff and dark and in-depth stuff to stuff that's just like let's rock out
yeah,
and
yeah.
everything in between.
Correct. Yeah,
So if you have Brothers of the Road and Raise Your Fists, that
yeah,
would be more akin to Another Thing Coming and Living After Midnight. And then if you have stuff like Return of the Sentinel or you know you know and Sons of the Sinner and Hail for the Priest, that would be more along the lines of Ram It Down or
Correct.
Painkiller or Victim of Changes or Blood Red Skies, you know. So you've got all of those elements of
Hmm.
acceptance, really, that we've come to know with our beloved, classic and true metal,
Absolutely.
that those songs belong in there, you
Yeah.
know, acceptability.
Hmm.
So it's kind of interesting times, you know, um, and but yeah, I'm really, really happy and content with the album. I really do think I'm very fulfilled with the whole thing.
Beautiful. The other thing that stood out for me watching the videos was that the band, there seems to be an energy and a cohesiveness about the band.
Absolutely there. And I've said this before, to be honest,
Hmm.
for some reason, um, the whole thing is is does have an energy. Even the quiet, subdued parts seem to have
Yeah,
an energy. I can't explain it. And there's a colourfulness about it, which creates energy. If what like when I watch the videos and stuff, I'm thinking there's a freshness about it as well.
absolutely.
Which there should be, really. You know, um, but at the same time, I can still draw comparisons because of the style, the way I sound, the way I write, the way I play solos, the way I play rhythm. Everything about it is kind still has a connection with
Absolutely.
my legacy and my past also.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's kind of, you know, um, it's kind of, but I've said in interviews that I don't want to leave my legacy behind, my sound and style and everything. It has to come with me into the future.
Yeah. And I think that's what it does so beautifully. The attitude, the image, and everything about it. There's a freshness to it, which I feel, as somebody. I mean, I've followed your work for the last from 1984, and and in today's landscape, I feel that's missing, which you guys have, managed to bring back brilliantly.
Yeah, well, the whole message of the album and everything is there is a very strong message in Sermons of the Sinner,
Mm-hmm.
in the song particularly. Really, that the fact is, you know, that we're still here. I mean, because we've created, and I've been on the journey from the very beginning because this genre of music wasn't there when I entered the fold back in the 60s. If anything, we entered in the progressive blues, you know,
Yep.
which then turned into rock and then hard rock and heavy rock, But in the 60s, a lot of bands like Cream, Fleetwood Mac, a lot of these bands were essentially progressive blues bands that entered, the entry level for them was listening to the great black blues artists, and embellishing and doing their own take, I mean, Fleetwood Mac, for example, they were past masters, and so were the Cream. But like Peter Green, when he wrote songs like Albatross, and indeed songs like Oh Well, and songs like Green Man Alicia, and much much more. These were very very clever progressive blues songs,
Yep.
and accepted as such, you know. Um, but I was on the road of I didn't know it was heavy metal then, but I was listening to some artists that I could hear little bits of what I didn't know at the time were actual heavy metal in artists like the Kinks and the Trogs, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously first and foremost the great Jimi Hendrix and songs
Absolutely.
like Foxy Lady and Purple Haze. I'm thinking this is give me more and more of this. I don't want blues. I don't want progressive blues. I want more of this. And that was the road I travelled, And it took a long time down that journey, you know. Um, and because we were called progressive blues, we were called rock, we
Yeah.
were called a hard rock band, we were called a heavy rock band, and then we were called a heavy metal band.
Mm-hmm.
and it all came together sometime in the late 70s. And obviously, Judas Priest became the archetypal heavy metal band with the leather and the studs and the sound and the music, and it's been fantastic to have been a part of that whole journey.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, we never saw you in India, here in India. And the couple of times that I've seen Judas Priest in Asia and then in Germany, I shot Judas Priest in, I think it was Germany. And, I've always felt I wish KK Downing was part of this. And, it was Judas Priest as I'd grown up with it. But now listening to what you guys put out, I can't wait to watch you live. I mean, I'm sure you're itching to go out on the road as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we definitely will. We'll be looking to create everything that you see in the videos and stuff. And the performance will be the same. You know, like you say, you mentioned India. We almost got to come to India one time, but didn't make it. But
Yeah.
there's loads and tons of metal fans over there. And we know that you have some metal bands as well. I can't remember exactly the name of the one band I'm thinking, but they do frequent KKs of Steel Mill. The website run out of
Mm-hmm.
Finland,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so yeah, we're absolutely dearly love to come to India. Please
Yeah.
bring us to India. Promoters, bring us, and we'll come and
Absolutely.
play some shows.
I mean, you guys worshipped in India, and pre-COVID we had a big rock metal scene. And obviously the industry is growing, and bands are going to different parts of the world and stuff. So yeah, I have no doubt you'll be very well received in India.
Absolutely, it's just the COVID thing still oppressing
Yeah,
so much in so many places. We just need to get rid of that and get that out of the way. And there's no doubt in my mind
yeah.
that, in fact, our record label, Explorer One, they actually journeyed over to India at the same time as I signed with the company.
Uh huh.
And they were making great tracks. And I said, "You're going to go to India." And then all the COVID thing happened, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but we have got great connections, with India. So we'd really love to come and play for you guys.
Oh, that'll be great. But tell me, KK, as far as putting the band together, right? You must have. I mean, it's not hard for you to put a band together, right? How did you decide who to go with, and not just sit and kind of, what they call, paralysis by analysis, where you sit and try to
Well,
figure out who I should go with.
well, like I say, I had been in Judas Priest from the very beginning. I was there, and created all of that. And then when things happened, I mean, because in 2010, we were all going to stop. We were going to do a final tour,
Yeah.
and we were all going to retire, you know. And but I just wasn't sure about doing that final tour. I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy it because things weren't right at that time. So I opted out of that farewell tour. But then they decided to carry on. I thought, well, they're going to call me at some point to be back in the band. But that didn't happen. So as much as I was wanting that to happen, uh, it was confirmed to me that they're not going to have me back. So I carried on. I thought, well, I'll call my old mates. You know, Ripper, we'd done albums and tours
Mm-hmm.
together. Les Lynch, we'd done albums and tours together. So I'm thinking I'm going to call my mates and just go out there and play some gigs for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so I kind of took that route. Unfortunately, Les wasn't able to make the journey with us, but
Mm-hmm.
he's got a special guest with us.
Oh,
You
lovely.
know,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And we're going to play songs from the albums we did with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the idea for just to get back with some familiar friends and faces and take that route. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
What
and
about
so
Dave? Is still I know Dave Ellefson's a friend of yours, and is Dave still, again, well
well,
documented whatever Dave's going through, but is
yeah,
Dave still a part
um,
of it?
well, you see, Dave, when we played together and we put together, and people called it the Mega Priest performance, which we did. You know, And I love that, but it was Megadeth and Judas Priest. It was like a hybrid, so that didn't really work for me, you know. And plus, Dave was still in Megadeth, and I didn't want to interfere with that. And they were going out on the road with Five Finger Death Punch, then they were going to do their own tour
Mm-hmm.
with Lamb of God supporting. So obviously, I recruited, you know, another great bass player, Tony Newton, and I'm really happy with Tony, you know. Um, but like I say, if I was looking for a bass player now, I wouldn't hesitate to ask Dave to do it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
care. Whatever shit it happens with him behind closed doors, everybody else does it. And if you turn the clock back 10 or 20 years, it would just be called rock and roll, right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
So none of that doesn't bother me at all, you know. But we've been obviously together now for over a year and a half, you know. And Tony's great. He's great in the studio. He's got lots of attributes,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a you know a bass giant. So we're good to go, you know. But I
Mm-hmm.
hope things really do work out well for Dave because
Yeah.
he's loved all over the planet. He's a gentleman and a great bass player, and I wish him well.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I wanted to ask you was the choice of name of the band. Did you ever think that there might be legal repercussions if you called yourself KK's Priest, or was that never a thing?
Well, yeah, they did. The guys in Judas Priest, they set their lawyers straight on to me, trying to stop me forming a band, you know. Um, but we just ignored it because that was never legally, they can never legally make that stick. That was, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a shame that they would try to do that to me because, you know, it is what it is. You know, I've been a priest all of my life and I just couldn't let it go. There's no reason why I should. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if they refuse me to go back in the band, I have to look at other guys that I've never met playing my songs, you know, and calling themselves a priest. If they can be a priest, why can't I be a priest? It's only fair.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's only fair. Um, and and we'll see how it goes. You know, like I say, you know, I couldn't just cut everything off that I am all of my life. You know, I've been a priest. I was there at the very beginning, and and for me, you know, the guys are very successful, and that's great. But it's not the same as it
Yeah,
was. It's
absolutely.
changed. When myself and Glenn were in the band, um, you know, to me, in 2010, I saw Rob go on tour with with the Halford band playing Judas Priest songs, and seems to be the same thing to me now. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
um, so because when Rob left the band, he took Scott with him, and we were in a mess. To be fair,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, so. But it is what it is. It's all about the music, the performance,
Absolutely.
and and you know, I'm KK Downing, and I am a true priest. I've been there since 1968, and I'm still here now.
Yeah.
And I've got lots of music and songs for people to hear. So I'll just continue with everything that I do, and I'm excited, very excited about it.
Yeah, I can imagine. But tell me, KK, how different is it if you had to look back when, you know, getting a record deal when Judas Priest put out their first album versus getting a record deal now with, you know, KK's Priest? How different is that?
But it was very, very difficult. It was impossible for us to get a record deal to
Mm-hmm.
begin with because we were playing such alternative music.
Yeah.
And the reason it was alternative because it hadn't really got a name back then, you know. And so it was hard to get signed. But obviously, when I put this music together, it was really quite easy to get a record label, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because it sounds great. You know, I love it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Do you think it's easier being a musician today? Because there's so much negative stuff that's said. You know, I hear a lot of people. Everybody says it's hard to make a living as a musician in this day and age, right? With streaming and all of that stuff.
It was
What
always
What do you
hard.
think?
It was always hard though, Vic. I mean, like I say, you know, I didn't have. I had my very first old car that cost £50 when I was 27 years old. When I was 27, I think I was recording Sin After Sin,
Mm-hmm.
and I still didn't have any money. And we were
Yeah.
on our third album.
Yeah.
Um, it was tough back then, and it is tough now, especially for young artists. But the thing is, they're not properly managed and looked after and guided.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, there's not enough people around to mentor younger bands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's not enough people.
Is that something that you do? That
Yeah,
you kind of help them, like you did back in the day, what you used to call paying your dues, right? Playing the clubs and the bars and all of that.
yeah,
And I'm guessing that has stood you in good stead today. And that is that something you kind of help younger musicians with?
yeah. Because to be honest, I mean, we never made any money till we learned something about the business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that still applies. I think for young musicians now, they still need to to learn something about the business to
Yeah.
help them really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have to do that. It's either that or have somebody that is trustworthy to guide them through the steps and take
Mm-hmm.
them forward.
Mm-hmm.
But it can still be done. But lots of bands now, Vic, and it's been the case since the 90s, really. They all seem to think that they've got to invent something brand new,
Yeah.
you know, and that's not the case. I really don't think that that's true. Um, I would say that to the to younger bands now, maybe the way to the future is is maybe look to the past,
Absolutely.
to the way to the future. You don't have to invent your own style of music, you know. Um, you don't have to be 100% unique, you
Correct.
know. You can take elements of the past because there's lots of great music in the past that people love, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And, and like I often say, it would be great if there was a young Deep Purple or a young Black Sabbath or a young Judas Priest or a young, well, we already have a young Led Zeppelin in Greta Van
Fleet.
Fleet, which
Yeah.
that kind of proves my case. You don't have to look like the band or particularly sound like them. The stylization from that band can be utilized,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a nice thing for older fans to have that there's bands that will be kind of not a tribute, but pay homage in such a way, but
Yeah.
enjoy doing it, but still create, you know, so that they still look different, which they will because they're different people. They will still perform. Part of their performance will be similar but different, and some of the music will be similar but different. But the identification is undoubtedly,
Yeah.
you know, have a Led Zeppelin kind of esque kind of vibe about it.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
good. That's fresh, and it can be good.
Absolutely. I think that's solid advice. But are there any bands of today that you follow? Anything that you like and listen to?
Well, um, I think I kind of am still in the classic and true metal. I'm always waiting for a new Scorpions album or a new UFO or You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Of stuff like that, you know, or a new Saxon or a new Udo or a new Accept or something,
Yeah.
you know. Um, because, like I say, in the 90s, too many bands went too metal, you know. Well, lots of good stuff came from it, but there was, like, obviously so many different brands of metal. I couldn't keep up with it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I'm always out there listening for a new band that's going to come along, and maybe I would be the person to mentor a band that had that, you know, really, um, you know, really were big fans of a band from the past, but they can do it their way and write new material, um, and have a new look and a freshness, but still take the attributes of like classic metal and make it really quite new with a freshness, which a lot of that I think is inherent with KK's Priest, because we do have some young blood in the band,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
What
And it's,
what has that been like for you to play guitar with AJ?
well, it's great, you know. Like I say, I've known AJ since he was a youngster. Well, this is kind of typical because his first concert was watching Judas Priest with Ripper in Birmingham, in England. You know, his dad took him to see the band,
Mm-hmm.
and he said there and then that he obviously saw me and wanted to be, you know, me. Same when I saw Jimi Hendrix, I wanted to be Jimi Hendrix, you know, and I couldn't be, but I can be a version, you know, I can still have every elements, you
Yeah.
know, that are not that obvious, but my passion came from somewhere. You know, the fuse was lit somewhere along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was 1967 when I first saw Jimi Hendrix play a concert, and it kind of changed my life.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, last couple of questions before I let you go. I want to talk about the whole, Judas Priest did a tour with Iron Maiden back in the day. What was that
Yes.
like? I mean, we've all grown up on Iron Maiden as well, and they're obviously worshipped in India again. And what was that like, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden?
Yeah, well, it was back in 1980, I believe, that Iron Maiden did their first UK tour
Mm-hmm.
with us, and they went on just after that to do their first US tour with us. Um, so that was good. Obviously, there was quite a bit of rivalry back then. I think that Iron Maiden, quite rightfully, were looking to take our crown, which I think they did. Obviously, the mighty Maiden, but you know, they developed and become obviously, and I'm very proud of Iron Maiden. I'm very proud that they're British. I'm very proud that they existed. You know, because you know, when you look at metal bands from the UK, obviously we look at Sabbath, Priest, Maiden, obviously with Saxon, you know, and those bands. But there should be a lot more. I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised there isn't a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much more than a handful, really, you
Yeah.
know, that kind of fit into that mold. You've got other bands as well, obviously Def Leppard, from Def Leppard to bands like Venom, you know, the new wave of
Yeah.
British heavy metal. But there's not a whole lot more. But yeah, it was so we had that vibe going on. We made, and they were lucky to take the crown, but you know, but they went on from strength to strength and made lots of great albums and became a great band. And um, and now, you know, that we've all kind of grown up and come through it, you know, those guys are very professional and they're very nice people as well. You know,
Yeah.
I hope they don't mind me saying that they're nice guys. You know what I mean? But because sometimes people want heavy metal heroes to be, you know,
Badass.
a badass. You know, I'm gonna kick you in the ass. You know, it's like, you know, but you know, we're good people and professionals. You know, and I've met not all of the guys, but since, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew Nico before he was in Maiden, and I knew he was always a good guy and a great drummer, I might add, you know. But
Yeah.
we know that. We know that anyway.
Yeah. But tell me, KK, is there any chance that you might guest with Priest, or is that door completely shut?
Well, that's completely up to them. But you mean me as an individual with those guys?
Yeah, maybe a guest appearance, you and Glenn, that's just not even a possibility anymore.
Well, for myself, my door is always open, but it seems their door is always closed, you know. But if we got inducted
Yeah.
to the Hall of Fame, maybe it makes sense, you know. But what can I say? You know, um, I feel very proud of myself, and I feel as though, you know, that like I say, the journey that I was on, you know, was a big part of the evolution of metal as we know it, and I'm very proud of it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm glad that it happened because it was just a dream when I was a young kid. It
Yeah.
was just a dream, you know, sitting down there writing those songs like with Al Atkins, you know, who would have believed that it would have come to this, but you know, um, it's all crazy. But we all know that musicians, we all leave, we come back. Sometimes bands explode completely and reform. Guns N' Roses, maybe, you know, didn't exist at one point. Now they're going back playing stadiums, which is fantastic
Yeah.
for us all, you know. There's somehow something good about when bands get back together, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
But in this case, not to be. So KK's Priest is we're here and we're coming your way.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for your time, KK. I wish you
Vic,
well. I really hope we can see you in India someday.
it's been an absolute pleasure, and tell all the fans in India, you know, please be
Absolutely.
patient a bit longer,
Absolutely.
and we're going to come and play some shows for you.
Thank you. That's it for this week's episode of Tales from the Road. Tales from the Road is brought to you by the concert photographer and moving pictures media. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. If you like what you heard, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. Thank you for listening.